Everyone on Zoom, let me know if you can hear me. Mic is weird, so it's always got to get confirmation. All right, everybody, welcome to the 4th general body meeting for the UCF Psychological Society. Today, we decided to talk about preparing for graduate school because that's what we got a lot of questions about last time. Before we do that, though, we have a mandatory icebreaker thing because it's clubs. That's what we do. I'm not doing it though, so I'm going to sit back down for now.
Yeah, I'll do it.
Yeah, Grace will do it.
Hello,
Speak
everyone.
very loudly because it's my computer.
Yes, I already have a loud voice. I don't even know if does not sound like it's on.
It's on. It's not perfect. That's for
I really, okay.
It doesn't.
Oh, it's for Zoom.
that's for
Sorry.
Zoom only.
I'm screaming at everybody in Zoom. Okay, so it's Halloween season. I hope you guys are excited as I am. So we wanted to do a spooky theme icebreaker and just ask who is the best horror villain. I have my own opinions, as do the rest of the board members, but we want to get some opinions. So do any of you like Halloween? Okay, just want to make sure. I don't know if you celebrate it or not. In my opinion, I think the best villain is It, because he can literally transform into anything. Yes, so good. So somebody else scream it out. They're like your classic villains. Oh, that's a good one.
Okay,
Have you been to Halloween Horror Nights? Okay, well, there's a house. Okay. You should just go by yourself. There's a house Halloween based. There are probably like 10 Michael Myers throughout the entire house. So just for you. Yeah, he's probably the cutest villain.
So in the group chat,
Maybe like Freddy Krueger. I don't know.
in the group chat, we also got the nut and the villain from Jeepers Creepers.
Disgusting.
The villain from Jeepers Creepers. I never saw Jeepers Creepers, so I don't even know that.
Right, you had one too. What did you say earlier?
Oh, so I have mine's kind of a toss up. I have either the ghost from Paranormal Activity 1, because that mofo don't care. He just walks around all day. It's great. Or Chucky, because Chucky's like terrifying, but also if you watch it in Spanish, it's just a comedy. Yeah.
Yeah, any kind of doll. So I think Annabelle, that's one, right? Yeah. Or the boy, is that one? Some puppet. Yeah. Anyway. No, what's your, yeah. Coraline Marin. That's terrifying. I haven't seen that movie in so long.
So I have a question for you guys. I don't know if you are.
Okay, Brett has a question.
I have a question. Scale of 1 to 10. You guys seen Coraline movie?
I actually don't.
Scale of 1 to 10. How scary were her fucking parents?
I haven't been.
Really? Bro, I watched it. I don't know why. That was no, it's 47. I was like,
I changed it up.
Yeah, you changed it up here. That's correct.
So for everyone who wants to do the challenge course, this is the survey to sign up. We're also picking the time you want to do it. So everyone kind of decided on the high level one, which is climbing and balancing. And once again, that's team building and team building and self-confidence. So if you want to work on that really high up in the air, sign up.
Nothing else about like a local course. It's pretty dope. Just remember that if you sign up to do it and you are picked to do it, if too many people back out before the date, the club gets fined a pro rate of like membership. So if you're like not sure if you can do it, just wait and like it's okay. We will do it next semester probably. But if you know for sure like, hey, I can set the time, maybe like a 3-hour time period, 4 hour time period, then I'm good. But yeah, the sign up is on when to meet, so it's gonna give you 5 days of availability. So just select the time slots, you know, the 3 to 4 hour time slot that works for you. And then you're good. It's all out of stage, so you don't have to press anything. And if you guys, I guess what I didn't think about was the fact that I kind of need to get these. Yes. Yeah.
You can see their email.
Can you see that?
Yeah, you can see their email when they stop.
Okay, cool. I'll be able to see your email and you fill it out. No, I totally didn't think about that whatsoever. So sorry. Miss. And then.
All right, so here's the finished t-shirt design we have. A reminder that if you paid for a t-shirt to come up at the end of the meeting and give us the size that you want to wear and your name. And then if you haven't paid yet, you can still do that. You can either come up after this meeting or contact us in the Discord so that we can let you know when the deadline is for that.
The coloring isn't finished. That's just like the basic thing. It's gonna have like a colorful background, but that was the image that like 80% of people liked. So that's the one we're gonna go with.
So if you guys weren't sick of the Halloween subject, you probably think I'm some crazy Halloween lady. We're having a Halloween social, so super exciting. This is going to be on the 25th of October. We haven't decided on a location yet, so TBD. Basically at this Halloween social, we're going to be doing fun activities, probably painting pumpkins. We're going to try and do some games and stuff. They talked about tarot readings. I don't really mess with that, but
Like tarot readings.
if you guys are into that and wanting to, I don't know, maybe a Ouija board, if you guys want to invite some spirits, I don't know. Anyway, there'll be
She does. If y'all want to volunteer to do tarot readings,
Like on my first one, I was 13.
nice. Okay, well, Miss Amanda.
So if you're into that, yes, but you don't have to partake. There'll be other games, music, candy. So we are going to do that the 25th of October, 5 o'clock to 7 p.m. So it'll be really fun. We're also going to be doing this with Neuro Alliance. So we'll have a good amount of people to be there and celebrate. So yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't. It's me and then it goes to the
Feel kind of cool taking the stage. Okay, so like we said, today is going to be a little more lecture-y. I do apologize, try to keep it fun. Talking about research positions. After last meeting, I got a ton of questions about honors thesis, research position, how do you do this, how do you do that? So this is what we're talking about. Yeah, so research assistant, that's like the thing you hear the most at a university, of being like, oh, I'm an RA for this lab, or I do this, I do that. I personally am an RA. I've been an RA for 3 professors. Technically, one is outside of UCF and 2 of them with. Generally, when you're going to graduate school, or if you're trying to apply to graduate school, and those of you that aren't, that are here, I'm so sorry, that's what this whole thing is about. When you're trying to go to graduate school, you want to develop research experience of some kind. If you have no research experience whatsoever of any kind, they will throw your application out. You have to have research experience. Now, I should note, master's degree is different. Master's degree, you do not need much, if any, research experience, and same with PsyD. So, well, PsyD, they want a little bit, but not a lot. So like, if you do it for a little bit, you're good. So one of the primary ways that students do it is by becoming a research assistant. So first, the question is like, where can you be a research assistant? I know that's like my biggest question when I started. Literally, it was like, where can I do this? You can do it at your university. So we posted a couple times. There are websites you can go to that have all the laboratories for psychology or other departments as well. And it has all the professors that lead those departments, and it has everything there. At any one of those, you could theoretically be a research assistant. Now, they are selective and it can be hard to get them. So reaching out directly to professors, selling yourself, those are really important to actually get it at the lab. But let's say that nobody here's taking you. Where can you go? You can also be a specific professor's assistant. So sometimes professors do their own research outside of a university lab. What that means is you're not gonna see them on a page, but if you go to the psychology faculty advising and you click them, you're gonna see their research interests. They might be doing independent research outside of the lab that you could contact them and be like, hey, I've read your stuff. I would love to be your research assistant. And you can kind of do it that way. That's what I did with my very first one. Anybody who's ever had Psych Career Readiness 1, Professor Motorella, she a queen, that one hooked me up. Yeah, I was like, I don't know how to do it. She's like, I got you, Mom. She gave me a spot. It was great. Message her. She's really cool. Other universities, there is no rule that says you even have to go to the university to be there already. When you graduate, you can go to a university and volunteer as an RA. It doesn't matter. You don't have to go there. So long as you have the experience and you can tell them that like, hey, I'm good for this, you'll be fine. Finally, non-university research labs. So, for example, what I'm in the task research team. That is a online internship that's situated in the Bronx, New York. Essentially, I got it through a connection through networking. But if you look into research organizations that are not at a university, these are typically connected to like, let's say, psychiatry facilities, VA health centers, etc. They might even have their own name. You can contact them and be like, hey, if you're looking for a volunteer, I'd love to help out. Now, just be careful when you're picking where you go, because some suck and some are great. Some will use you and some will actually like really try to help you out. With that being said, what do you actually do? What do you do as a research assistant? There are kind of three big things. You code data. What that means is you're given like 100, I don't know, let's say 100 is a number. Like they give you like 100 data sets. And they're like, okay, so look through all this data. It's like an Excel sheet. For everybody that answered yes, you're gonna put a 1. For everybody that answered no, you're gonna put a 0. And you're gonna do that. And it's like for everybody that said that they have history of child abuse, you're gonna put a 3 for them. But if they said they had history of assault but not child abuse, you're gonna put a 2. You're literally just turning like quantitative data into numbers, and they tell you exactly how to do it. It's very cut and dry. You don't need any experience, but for some reason they say you have to be qualified. You have article summaries. That's literally reading research papers. These papers can vary from 5 if it's a brief report to like 32 if it's a meta-analysis. It's big. You read these, you summarize it, you put it into Google Doc, and the professor says thanks, and they use it to inform their own manuscript writing. You can conduct interviews. That is actually what Amber, our treasurer, who is supposed to be presenting this, is doing right now. Her lab, she's interviewing individuals that are signing up for research. You have intake interviews, which is basically you're just seeing if they can do the actual survey. Hey, speak it up. And she appears. Or you have actual interviews where it's you're given a series of questions, ask somebody, you go through it. Typically, that kind of interview is reserved for an actual person with a degree because it could be sensitive information, but research assistants can do it from time to time. Any questions so far? No? Am I boring you guys to death? Fucking liars. I don't believe you guys. Okay. Any questions in the chat that I can answer while I'm here?
None that are already answered.
Cool. So, things to consider when you're doing this. First of all, do you even want to do research? If you are not sure that you really want to do research at all, why do this? It's a waste of your time. Like, frankly, if you don't think that you're going to do research, or you're like, man, I really don't want to do it, just don't do it. Like, you're fine. You can do other stuff that's not related to that. But if you are 50-50 or more, might as well do it. It's good volunteer service, and it can look good on a resume anyways, just because it's kind of like an administrative job, if you want to think about it that way. You can apply it to things. But time commitment. Some are easier than others, some are harder than others. The task team that I work with, it's like a period of 3 weeks where I don't do anything, and then it's a period of 2 weeks where I'm working like 10 or more hours a week doing it. But that's not consistent. Here at my lab, it's like consistently like 3 hours a week, and that's about it.
Wait, I just want to say one thing. The lab that I'm in, it's called like the HEAL lab. I don't know if you guys know what it is. It's like focusing on like alcohol use and everything. With that one, they're always like, oh, like which research assistants like want to participate in this and this. So like some labs, you can just like ask to do more stuff if you want more hours. Yeah, you can always take on more duty, and if you ask to take on more, you'll typically be trusted more. They'll like you, and they'll remember you better because they just see you as like an overachiever, I guess.
Second, if you're doing research, are you actually interested in the topic? This is a big thing that's not often told by psych advising or other places when it comes to going to graduate school. When you go to graduate school, it's not like undergrad where you apply to a university and you get accepted broadly. When you go to graduate school, you are applying to a professor. You're applying to one person. That person typically takes on anywhere from 1 to 4 students for their year, and that's it. And they have specific individual research interests. Now, if you are a freshman or a sophomore, which is the majority of people who make up this club, or even if you're a junior who transferred here and who you feel screwed because you feel like you have no time to do anything. That was me. And it was a great time. Thinking early about where you might want to go if graduate school is your thing helps. If you don't know, that's okay. So long as you're doing work that goes in a general area to show your development towards research in general. So let's say you do research at a lab, you pick the first one that offers it for you, and it's in like education, and you do not like education. That's fine. Second lab you do, it's a little more closer. Maybe let's say that your end goal is like depression, and you get something that works with veterans. That's closer. You're showing a path that got you to where you want to be. And when you're writing and you're applying to grad school, that's what they want to see. They want to see, hey, we know somebody who's had experience, they have their path, they know what they want to do, they're here now. And that's a good thing. So if you're not interested in it, see if you can find one that you are, but again, they are competitive. So just take what you can if you can. I think this is Miguel. All right, I'm gonna give it to Miguel. He's gonna save my.
It is. Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Save your face.
Save my voice and my face.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, so there's research, of course, but not everyone does research. A lot of people just want to do something like clinical work. For clinical work, generally, if you're considering doing that, you would want to know if you want to do 4 broad type of jobs. More or less. Wait, I'm not sure if this slide or the next slide's the. Okay, yeah, 4 different broad types of jobs. These are the ones. So the first type is inpatient facilities, where in this one, you're just taking care of people who have any kind of psychological disorder. In this, you would either be a medicine administrator or you would be in some type of caretaker role. The caretaker role, there's a lot of them. I can't really list them on now off the top of my head. The other type of job would be crisis hotlines. These ones, kind of like what they sound like. People who are contemplating suicide call you or text you. We call or text. And for this, you will have to go through some amount of training to do mental first aid, which is basically like psychological CPR for those kinds of people. The thing about this job is you do need to commit at least 1 year, but the very specific numbers I think are you need to do 4 hours per week up to when you fulfill a 200-hour requirement, which rounds up to about like a little under a year. But of course, you could just take on more than 4 hours and be done quicker. That's up to you. There's also summer volunteer positions. These are just any type of position over the summer. This could be like a summer camp for children with disabilities, or more specifically, it could be something like the Special Olympics Young Athletes Program, which is a program for children with disabilities, but more focused on athletics. There's also positions with licensure, like a registered behavioral technician or an inpatient technician. I think I might have forgotten it, but we'll check on the next slide. For these, of course, you need licensure, but you don't necessarily need a bachelor's degree. A lot of these, like the bare minimum, all you need is a high school diploma. But of course, the licensure has its own training to consider, so that's something to keep in mind. Yeah, so I'm gonna list 2 examples that I thought were important enough to mention or aren't self-explanatory, but these are all things you should Google if you're interested in doing any kind of clinical work. The first is a registered behavioral technician. You might have heard this before. It's mentioned a lot, especially in the career readiness courses. This is the official title of this job is a behavior analyst. What that means is you're basically working with people to modify their behavior. You're doing some type of behavior modification therapy. And this job specifically, the thing about it is you're always going to be monitored by someone known as a board certified behavior analyst. This is basically like more or less it's someone who is a registered behavioral technician, except at a graduate level. They just have a different title and stuff like that, and with more training, of course. But I think forever, you're always going to be monitored by someone like that. So that's something to keep in mind if you're going to go into this position. The second one is patient care technician. I did get it right. This one, it's actually a lot like a nurse, except you're less invasive. Like you're not going to be putting needles in patients' veins. And this one, you're just monitoring the patient's health condition, maybe checking vitals. You also report to whatever team you happen to be working with, at whatever facility you're working with. But I cannot stress enough, if you're interested in like any of this, Google everything on this slide, just make sure you do that, because this is all of these are like generally broad things you can get into. And they can teach you maybe, or they can be a good way for you to find out what you actually want to do and get experience, all of that. I'm not sure who's doing this. Who's up?
Okay, so we actually skipped a slide. Funny enough.
Did we?
Yes, sir.
Incredible. What slide did we skip? Is this something I did?
That's something we both did. Okay, so going back to the idea of all right, just very briefly, I'll go through this quick. Or it's not all right, it's like anything you can do in research. RA is not the only thing. There are other things you can do. Typically they happen when you are in some kind of group, because you get guidance from an advisor. But you don't necessarily need to be in a lab or anything. Versus conferences, these are easiest. UCF has one. In the summer, it's called the Summer Undergraduate Research Symposium. It's like SURF or some acronym. They do it every year. It's pretty easy to get into. Conferences are pretty much like science fair when we were all in like elementary school. You know what I mean? Like you create the big trifold poster board, you bring it, and you're like, this is my hypothesis, this is my thesis, blah blah blah. That BS that we all hated. Yeah, you have to keep doing it as an adult. You literally get like a poster board. You print it out, you put it on the poster board, and it's going to be a brief overview. This can be completed research or non-completed research. Depends on where you're applying to. Some places want it to be fully done, some don't. But essentially you just you pay to do it. You pay to go to a place, go to a big room, and you present. This is good experience to get, and also helps you network. This is how you meet professors at universities that you want to get your degree in. This is also how you meet other people in your field. And honestly, it's kind of cool just to be like, oh yeah, this is like new research. It's coming out. It's neat. You can get scholarships for it. You can get funding from UCF, so it doesn't have to be out of pocket. You have co-authoring. Co-authoring is writing manuscripts. A manuscript is the paper that you write. So whenever I say, oh, you work on papers, that's what I mean. It's called a manuscript. Co-authoring is great. Co-authoring is like you write it, you help write it, and then it gets published in an actual journal that has your name on it, everything. And that's a great experience. You really want to have that. Like just say you've written papers. Awesome. Grant writing is like a weird one. It's like really niche. Grant writing is applying for scholarship money. Grants in general are kind of hard to come by. And if you can say that you have that experience to get it, that's going to be really helpful. And it's also like a weird skill. So it kind of sets you apart. It's not easy to come by getting that. And then study design, that's again, like science fair, conducting your own experiment, except this time you are picking out scales and surveys and you're sending them out and you're having participants come in. If you've designed a study and you've co-authored on like one paper and you've done a conference, you've gotten like all of these things out of the way that you're going to need to learn how to do later. So they'll love you. Okay. So that was that slide. So this is something we got the most questions about, Amanda. I think it was you or just me. Okay. I think it's me, right? Yeah. Okay. So honors and majors thesis. This is the one I got the most questions about. Honors and majors thesis. I covered it last time, but I'll briefly cover it again. An honors in major thesis is a program done through the Honors College here, the Burnett Honors College. You don't become a part of it. You do not have to take honors classes because of this course. You are literally just taking this one thing and you graduate with honors. That's great just to apply to any job afterwards with your bachelor's, because you can say, hey, I graduated with honors. I was top of my class, blah, 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 whatever you want to call it. That makes you look fancy. Good job. So there are kind of steps to doing it. I think it was the biggest one. First of all, it's just finding your interest. An honors and majors thesis could be an actual study. It could be a literature review. It could be a meta-analysis. It can be really anything you want. It doesn't have to be like, I go find participants, blah, 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 which is usually what you hear. But you do want to know your interest. Typically that involves looking into a little bit of background, knowing what you want to do, and then talking to a professor. So number 2 is finding a professor to lead. Remember how I said there was a psych faculty page? Yeah, go find professors on there, just look through them and see who has interests that match yours. Or if you've heard of a professor, you can, from a friend that has similar interests, you can contact them. Best way to go about it usually is emailing them. You may not get a response sometime, or you will, or they'll outright tell you no, but emailing them is gonna be the most surefire way. Step to set yourself apart, because most undergraduate students do not do this. Out of all the professors I've talked to, they say this is the thing they really like to see because nobody does it. When you email them, have read some of the stuff they've written, even if you've only briefly gone through it. Just know what they're about, know what some of their stuff they've read, and if you can like reference one, it looks great. Don't make the email super long, make it super short. Be like, hey, my name is Bretland. I'm a student here at UCF. These are my interests. I see that you wrote this paper on this topic, and I thought that was very interesting. I would love to talk with you about that and maybe any open positions or any kind of like blog. Or if you're doing the honors majors specifically, you could say, I'm thinking about doing an honors and major thesis, and I was wondering if you had any positions open to lead a student, and you kind of work from there. Some people will be like, no, I don't have any time this semester or next semester. Others would be like, oh, I don't know if I have time, but we should meet up anyways. Usually when they say that, they're really interested in taking you, and they want to see it when they talk to you. That goes well. 3 is developing a question. That's kind of like the rest of the thing. You literally create a question that you're going to be answering. And then 4 is getting approved by honors college. So when you apply, you have to fill out this form. It's very annoying. You download this form, you fill it out, you write who's leading, what your question is, a little description of what it's going to be about, and then you submit it. And then after that, you can do this project over a period of 2 to 4 semesters. So no less than 2, not supposed to be more than 4. You can take a gap semester. So let's say you start it in the spring, but the next fall you can't work on it. You can do a gap. There's no rule against it. Cool. So commonly asked questions about it. Do I have to do it all in undergrad? Or commonly asked questions about research in general. Do you have to do it all in undergrad? No. You can graduate college and continue doing research independently, either in a paid RA position, very, very hard to get. In an unpaid RA position, much easier, but unpaid, which sucks. You could do it at other universities, you could do it outside organizations. You don't have to be an undergraduate student to do it. And frankly, the number of people every year who get accepted into grad school, the percentage is increasing of those who have a gap after undergrad. So people are taking more time before they apply because it helps them get experience. The field is so competitive. How do I find positions like these? That one's hard, honestly. Like there are websites they'll take you to that'll be like, oh, here's like where RA positions are posted. And you can do that. You know, the psychology advising will send out positions on occasion. Generally though, reaching out directly to faculty is the easiest way, or reaching out to people outside of the college and being like, hey, do you have a position? Or, hey, I sound cool. Can you make a position for me? That one's good. Transferred into junior and you have a ton of credits and you feel like you have no time. Is it too late? Absolutely not. Again, there is gap years, but if you don't want a gap year, then you can still do it. Honestly, I think it's like they want like a minimum of a year of research experience. So reach out quickly, start talking to people and kind of work your way in. You don't need to have, 4 years to do it. I think I personally am one of the examples of that. If you don't want to do research, wait, what was the full question? I want to be able to, I liked this one, so I'm going to say it. What if I don't want a career in research? So master's degree, that's really easy. You don't need a career in research, but with a master's degree, you can do everything that a psychologist can do. You can still do therapy, etc. This is if you're interested in therapy. If you're not, with a master's degree, you can still teach at the community college level, and also getting hired in positions like non-psychology positions. On average, you're going to make more money than anybody with a bachelor's degree. So maybe let's say you don't care now, but a couple years down the line, maybe it would be interesting. Getting a master's degree opens you up to having more job opportunities and gets you a higher on average pay annually than people who have had like jump, right? Like position.
You could also do a PsyG or a master's of arts, just do a master's of arts, so that you can't go PhD route after. It's just not really mandatory research in your master's program.
That's correct. Also, getting a bachelor's in psychology lets you go into master's degree programs in non-psychology courses. So like I have a bachelor's in psychology, I can apply for a master's in sociology. I could do criminal justice. Your bachelor's degree is just like a foundational layer. And because psychology is so damn broad, it goes to a lot of different things. So just keep in mind that you're not limited into what you could do afterwards. And you're not limited in the jobs you can take if you don't even want to go to school after this. Like, if you don't want to go to school, you're gonna be fine. I feel like I hear all the time, oh, you have a psychology major, you can't get any jobs. It's so blah, blah, blah. That's not true. You can get jobs. Yes, sir.
Actually, I was gonna ask about that. I did hear like people did like springboard off of a master's and they decided they wanted to get the PhD or their PhD.
Mhm.
I guess, how would, I don't know if you know the process about how that goes, like, if you were to, do you like apply for a master's first, or do you apply for a PhD?
So masters and graduate, like, or let's say masters and doctoral level degrees, so PhD or PsyD, they are independent of each other. So you apply to a master's degree, you get that degree, and then you apply to graduate school. Graduate school will take the same amount of time, whether you have a master's or not. The only difference is you might have a little more experience to help you in graduate school. Also, if you have a master's degree and you wanted to practice therapy, or you have a master's degree or something else, you could start doing the jobs that pay better in the master's degree while you're getting your PhD. It's just a little harder.
To add on top of that, say your goal is to go into the doctoral level, sorry. If you get accepted into the master's program, you're basically taking classes they transfer over into the doctoral level. That's what your goal is. So you can keep applying while you're in your master's degree, and you're still taking classes for it. So you don't necessarily have to get your master's degree before, but you can do work, understand that.
There are also some programs that offer dual degree years. So essentially you apply, you work towards getting your doctoral degree, but along the way you grab your master's. So kind of like the way with a bachelor's, you get your AA along the way. It's the same thing. So you get your master's degree along the way, which will allow you to start doing it. Julio. So with that being said, I'm very long. Let me give it some hand up.
Alrighty, so in order to get into any graduate program, you normally need at least 2 or 3 letters of rec to even have them look at your application. And that's why networking is really important. That's why volunteering is important. That's why doing RA positions is important. That's why being a TA is important, because you need 2 or 3 letters of rec. Your personal statement is essentially talking about your academic experience. It's showing a little bit of your personality. It's talking about why you're a good fit for the university and why you want to go there. And also for the personal statement, what really helps is look at the professors, know who you're applying to, look at the board. Because basically, if you sit there and you compliment them, say, oh, this person's a leading professor and blah, blah, blah. I also have a strong interest in that. I would love to work under them. The professors for the graduate programs are going to be the ones going over the applications. They have one person who looks over all the applications and they present them to the professors. So if you talk about the professors, you show that you know the school and you know who you're talking about and you did your research. It makes it seem like you actually want to go there. Another thing with that too is because for a lot of graduate programs, they have to accept at least 20 over the amount of people they want to get in. Because people trickle out, people have different options, life happens. So if you really seem like you will actually go to this school if they let you in, they were more likely to look at you. Also, early applying to the early application thing, they accept 2/3 of their applications during the early acceptance. And then the last third is the actual deadline. So if they say, oh, in January we have early acceptance, and then in May we have the other one. So basically early acceptance, they accept everybody they do fill 2/3 of their spots. And then if you didn't get in, they'll re-trickle you back in for the actual final deadline. So that's another thing to think about. So yeah, just doing your research, showing your personality, and making sure you have letters of recommendation that are helpful. I know they really like to see at least one from a professor. Like internships and that kind of stuff help, but building a relationship with a professor that will give you an actual good letter of recommendation is also helpful. And that is it. Does anyone have any questions?
It's a very fun fact.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh, it is, it is.
The one recommendation from the professor, do they have to like? Do they have to have like a certain degree themselves, like, because I know you mentioned that, like, if you have a master's degree, like, that's primarily like community college professors.
So no, actually, what a lot of graduate programs like is they like diversity. They like diversity in age, they like diversity in majors. You don't have to be a psych major. Now it helps show that you are interested in the field and it shows that you're passionate about it, but it's not a necessity. So doing anything that shows that you're passionate about psychology, so you could have a completely different major, but if you are doing internships and experience related to it, and you have reasons to show that you are actually passionate about it, it doesn't matter who the professor's from. All they're saying is your work ethic as a student or giving a like something that's about your character.
They do have to have a graduate degree. Like, doesn't matter where they're from, they do have to have a graduate degree.
Yeah.
It's considered like a peer advice.
Mhm. And also, I am saying all this because I spoke directly with the admissions person at Rollins for their graduate program. So this came straight from him, like verbatim, like I'm telling you exactly what he told me. Any more questions? Alrighty, so if you have any more, you can message us or come up at the end.
Okay, so I know it's not the most exhilarating of meetings, because obviously it's lecturing. But I thought it was important information, and especially because we actually recording this one, we can post it. So yeah, I've kind of forgotten to do that much time. Yeah, so I think the big takeaway that I want for everybody here, for anybody that's considering graduate school, is that there is a lot that goes into it, and knowing about it ahead of time saves you stress and concern. Hello? So it saves you kind of stress and issues down the line, which is why we wanted to do this. Reminder, we have a social on the 25th, and we have pumpkin social, so come hang with us, do games, trivia. We might even get a projector and play a movie, but I don't know about that one yet. That's something I just thought of, honestly. I want to say odds are good that it's gonna be the Arboretum, but keep posted in the announcements of our Discord and our Instagram for the location. If you ordered a shirt, please come up before you leave and let us know your shirt size so we can order it for you. Yeah. What did we agree on? That's fine. Okay, so there's one thing. So last year shirts costed X amount of money. This year they cost X more amount of money. I don't want to raise costs for anybody that's already bought a shirt because we kind of told you a price. So y'all are chill, but anybody who hasn't bought a shirt yet, we are gonna raise the price to be $5 more to be 10, because that's expensive, and because we do it the price we did before, it'd be much harder to give you guys opportunities to do things and have fun social next semester. I know it's kind of annoying to hear, but yo, inflation sucks, so sauce, guys.
Also, these shirts are gonna look really cute.
Yeah. The idea we have for them, just to make it clear, is like, it's like that background. It's gonna be, I don't know if we agreed on black body color or not, but it's gonna be black or white or something, and it's gonna be like a really colorful background with the little Rorschach image on the inside.
And then like on the pocket, it's gonna say UCF psychology.
I wanted to do a little armband that said Psych Society, but they told me it was a bad idea. All I'm saying, I thought it was a great idea. Okay, I think that's it. It's a bit of a shorter meeting today. Does anybody have any questions about anything we talked about? Any ideas? Oh, one last thing I forgot, appointed board. Last year when they did that, they barely got enough people to fill the position, so it's way easier. This year we got hella applications. So we're just finishing going through all of them now. Look out on Friday. We're gonna send emails to those of you that we want to interview, and to everybody else, we're gonna send, the typical, thanks for applying, but it's depressing, yeah. So thanks to everybody that did apply. We have kind of the whole team looking at it, and there were just a lot, it took us a while, but look out for emails. We're gonna try to set up times to interview. If you decide that it's not something you want to do, or you don't have a time commitment, just let us know in advance, so that way we can potentially interview other people and give them the opportunity. Yeah. Quick also note, because we get this question a lot, there are a couple people who didn't like they paid their dues, And they did all the crap, but they never pressed join. I literally cannot add you to our club roster unless you press join in Knights Connect. So please go to your Knights Connect and see if you did that. Because I don't even have contact info for some of the people that did that. So I can't even text you to be like, hey, go do it. So anybody that's watching, go do that. Yeah, that'd be
And if
great.
you're wondering too,
Yeah, if you have questions right now, like, hey, my color hasn't changed in the chat, come up. If you're not in the chat, you're like, am I a member? Come up and ask. Yeah, I think that's it. All right. If you want a shirt, come talk to us. Okay, thanks.
Are you in Dr. Neal's clinical psych class?
I am in Dr. Neal's psych class.